one of the things that we're doing in athletes' lives is, especially East Chicago Central, is we want to get from you, which you're a very important piece to this whole puzzle right here, about the best players ever come through East Chicago Central, and your opinion matters, and your opinion want to be heard too. So this is a good topic right here.
Oh, okay.
So let's start off with quarterback, and over your tenure, you had Eric Irvin, you had Greg Gillis, you had Duncan Purnell, and then you had 1 year with John Massey. So who would you consider your best quarterback?
Well, John, we didn't have long enough. Roy could speak more on that. I think Eric had by far and away the most talent at that position. The unfortunate thing for us was we were only able to work with him for 1 year, and I'm not saying he was coming on towards the end. I think he could have been a tremendous player for us. So from a talent standpoint, Eric, he gets the nod at quarterback.
All right. Running back, which is a huge topic because, as you know, running back was a position that was famous. All the guys get a lot of carries and get a lot of glory from running back. And, you had an opportunity to have some great ones. You had Brian Hudson. You had Al Robinson. You had Martin France, Royce Roberson, and then you had 1 year with Willie Collins as your running back. Who would you say is your best running back?
Well, that was obviously the focal point of our offense. When you're running the I formation, you got to dot it with the tailback. I think a guy that doesn't get enough credit is Alfonso. Alfonso was a physical back that really kind of set the tone. Brian was more of an elusive, very light kid, very hard worker, but was limited just because of his physical stature. Alfonso was carrying about 225, 235, and he could really bring it. Royce Roberson had the most talent. He was the most elusive. He was the fastest. He was the strongest. So as far as a running back, I'd have to give it to Royce. As far as a high school football player, no question. Martell was a better football player than Royce Roberson. Martell could do it all. He was a tremendous running back. He was one of our better outside linebackers, who we also played at free safety. And Roy played him in a lot of different positions, and he contributed in a many number of ways.
Fullback.
Well, I didn't get to coach you. You were a young pup.
Yeah.
Royce Love was our best player at the fullback position. Very physical player. 3-year starter really started on and off for 4 years at Vanderbilt. So it's hard to say a guy can start 4 years at SEC school and not be your best fullback.
Gotcha. Wide receiver.
Well, this is a tough position because probably our wide receivers didn't get enough action in their minds. We went through 3 very good ones with Anthony Dowdell, Greg Dowdell, and then Judah Parks. Although Judah, in his senior year, obviously he was getting ready. I think he had already committed to University of Illinois Chicago at that point. My memory's a little vague on it, but he obviously was more inclined towards the basketball, but he was a good wide receiver. But I did have to give it to the Dowdells. Both of them moved on and played at the next level. But again, we may have been a miss. We were a big run team. Times have changed.
Gotcha. Offensive lineman. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Tight end, H-back.
We had a nice athlete by the name of Wash Coleman. He did a nice job in there as an H-back. He's probably the first one we probably started moving around a lot. We played a lot of our linemen at that position. Ted Compton did a decent job and then was moved back to from tight end to fullback. We had Condo Rance for play there a little bit earlier in his career. So again, tight end was not a big focal point in the offense.
Gotcha. Offensive lineman.
Now this is a focal point, and by far and away the best two offensive linemen we had was Robert Smith and Tom Lekowski, and they're two different players. Robert was a strong, physical guy that really had an upper body strength. Tom was also a strong, very physical guy, and Tom doesn't get the credit. Tom was a tremendous athlete. He had great foot speed, and ended up playing 3 years at IU, and I think he was captain of 1 year, his last year, so he had a wonderful career. It's tough. Those are two tough guys. I'd love to have them anytime. Yeah. If I'd have to say all-time best, I'd have to give my nod to Tom, but that's awful close. Robert, please don't, break my hand the next time I see it.
Okay. D-lineman.
D-lineman. A lot of those guys played a defensive line along with the offensive line. We had some guys that were developing. T.C. Wilson was coming along. We had a kid that moved on later and played in college, Damon Williams, but he was a younger kid. Robert, like I said, Robert and Tom played very well, but as far as just and they were very, very good, don't get me wrong. As far as just playing a defensive line position, I would probably have to go with Kondo. But we had some tremendous guys. Let's go back to the offensive line. We had some good linemen. We had Dino Patton had a nice career with us at left guard. Gabe Malave was a very nice right guard for us. Bernie Vera was a very nice center. The late Jermaine Wright had a very nice senior year. He was the only year he really contributed at left tackle. We had Juan Torres later in my go around. Kyle Williams was a solid player. T.C. Wilson, who Roy really got to see the full development of T.C. T.C. was very, very good football player, along with Celerano, and then the Cook brothers were solid football players for us.
Okay. Now let's go to linebacker now.
Well, again, we're getting back into some of the same players. If you're talking about dominant players, I would say, as far as sending a guy, because he went to the North-South All-Star game, I'd have to give it to Ted Compton. And he had a great North-South All-Star game. He played with Zach Wells from Maryville, and they were both very instrumental in leading the North to a nice defensive win in that game. So I'd have to give it to Ted Compton.
Okay. Cornerback. Well, actually, let's do secondary. Who would you take out of the secondary?
Damon Glenn. He played in Wisconsin. Got to go to two Rose Bowls. Was a very solid football player. Really could run, moved his hips, but he was extremely strong. I think, my memory is correct, I think he benched over 300 as a high school corner. That's kind of hard to deal with.
Gotcha. Who was the best player? You had one player who you wanted to go see play. Who was the best player to ever come through East Chicago Central under your tenure?
Oh, it depends on what you wanted to see. If you wanted to see a guard pull, I'd come and watch Tom Lekowski all game long. If you wanted to see a guy offensive tackle block down, boy, Robert Smith was a pleasure to watch. If you wanted to see Royce Love kick out on a kick-out block at the fullback position, and let's not forget, Royce was a solid linebacker too. A couple of these guys I didn't mention on defense, but because they were so dominant on offense, and in any of our running backs, it was a pleasure to watch. So, I'm not going to sit here and pick one guy out. You may have come all this way for nothing. But I really think we did have a lot of kids that really contributed in a lot of different ways, and I hope they still are in society.
Gotcha. You did a great job of coming to East Chicago and turning the whole program around. Sent a lot of kids off to college. What were your strategies in getting kids recruited? Because I know you sent a lot of kids to Big Ten schools, which was unheard of.
Well, number one, the head high school coach is not getting anybody a Big Ten scholarship. The person and the player is going to get himself a Big Ten scholarship because you need to have Big Ten size, Big Ten speed, Big Ten work ethic, and Big Ten grades. And I thought the best thing we did, I had been in college. I was at the Division III level, which we depended on the high school coaches to get the information out on those types of players. So I thought the best thing we did was we had put together a recruiting brochure, put together at that time a lot of DVDs and highlights on our players, and we got them the exposure they needed.
All right. What is Coach E currently doing now?
Well, I'm retired and from teaching. I'm enjoying a good life. Thank God for Seattle Sutton's healthy eating. I volunteered my time the last for 2 years. I was at Michigan City after I retired from teaching, just helping them out on a volunteer basis with the football program. And when, that's with a good friend of mine, Buzz Bazia. Buzz moved to Homewood Flossmoor in Illinois, and now I'm back at Crown Point. And as ironic as it is, as it may be, I'm coaching with assisting a guy that probably gave East Chicago one of the worst, or at least the most gut-wrenching losses. He was the quarterback, Chip Pettit. So it's funny how the world moves.
Gotcha. What kind of advice can you give to first, let's say, coaches who may one day be in your position? Great high school athlete, great coaching experience. Every program you go to, you turn it around. What kind of advice can you give to that coach?
Well, I think the biggest thing is there's no shortcuts. And Carl, I think you get, I know you had a good experience or great experience with Coach Richards. You got to make a connection with the kids, and the kids have got to know that you're fair, that you're honest. Not that you're perfect. Everybody's going to make mistakes, but we're going to work hard. We're going to work on a daily basis. We're going to work hard at everything, whether it's involving football, involving conditioning, or involving our schoolwork, or involving being with our families. And I think once you get the kids all working together in a family-like atmosphere, great things can happen.
What kind of advice can you give to athletes?
Do the right thing. And you know what the right thing is. Stay away from the wrong people. Go to class, be on time, behave in class, follow through in your homework, show up to all the conditioning programs, be on time to all those conditioning programs, and take coaching, whether it's good or bad. If your coach is correcting you, don't close your mind. Listen to it. And at the same time, be able to take compliments.
Gotcha. Last question for you, Coach. What is one motto that Coach E lives by?
Attention to detail. I think many times we forget about a lot of big fancy stuff seems really important when it really isn't. The little things count. Being on time, being there every day, being consistent. That's what's going to take you to the top.
Coach E, I want to thank you for this wonderful interview. A whole lot of athletes been waiting to hear from you, see how you're doing, and you're doing well. So I want to thank you for this opportunity. In the future, what I want to be able to do one day is maybe get all the coaches from East Chicago Central, have a little round table conversation.
Great. Carl, thanks a lot. Hello to all my ex-players. I loved all you guys. Thank you very much.
Athletes Lives Network exclusive interviews. Once an athlete, always an athlete. Thank you for watching Athletes Lives Network exclusive interviews. We will have more exciting interviews to come as we journey across the state of Indiana to look into the lives of former, present, and future athletes. You can follow us on our website at www.athletelives.com or follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/athletelives. Remember, once an athlete, always an athlete.